Good afternoon, Crime Crunchies. Thank you so much for joining me here today. I am your host, Courtney C., a 27-year veteran of the media, and I am so happy to now be bringing you Crime Crunchies. All right. Wow, it's Sunday. Woo! The weekend goes too fast. Woo! So this is me at 2:36 a.m. I have to get up. I have to put together a PowerPoint presentation. And yes, this is a true story. I was up at 2:36 a.m. until 4 a.m. putting together a PowerPoint presentation with images that we are going to be looking at today. And I have to tell you that my mind got to worrying after we had the wonderful Jen and Glenn from Thornbridge X Unfiltered on the other day. And I really want to thank them again for coming on really quick. I thought it was a fabulous show. I hope you enjoyed it as well. But Jen had mentioned probably 3/4 of the way in that, she had some ideas about the house that did not make sense to her. And I'm like, ooh, do tell. I want the juice. I want all of the conspiracy theories. And she did not disappoint. She had some really good theories. And one of which was one that I had never considered before. And that was how the car pulled into the garage in the pictures that we saw of the law enforcement people going around the house, and how you could see in the gravel lines of the tires. That is probably the typical way or angle that Miss Nancy would pull her SUV into the garage. And in those pictures, the garage was over to the right a little bit and not in line with the regular grooves in the gravel. Okay. And I do believe at that time that law enforcement was there, not really touching anything, just doing forensics, taking pictures, measurements, blah, blah, blah. So I do have to say that at that time, the SUV, Nancy's blue SUV, probably had not been moved before. And as usual, my mind gets worrying, and it's like, okay, well, if there's that issue, are there any other issues that the house could tell if we were to have the house talk to us, like it has like a mouth in the brick? Okay. And yeah, 2:36 in the morning, I did have a question. I'm like, that doesn't add up. So I got up and I got some pictures of the house, and we're going to look at, and I don't know if we can get this entire conversation done today or if this is a second part, but I really want to go through again what we believe is the timeline, and if it's possible for Porch Guy to have done what he did in the amount of time and really dissect every movement, every single movement. So let's do that. Don't let me forget, I have the Kathy Lee Gifford video as well, because she does talk a little bit more about the family, which is very interesting. So don't let me forget that. So, all right, let me share my screen. This is your chance to subscribe. I bet that there's some of you out there who have not subscribed. And we are the Cool Kids Club. And you don't want to not be a cool kid. I can tell. Yeah, hit the like, hit the subscribe, hit that bell, smash it. Woohoo! We do have fun. I'm weird. We get serious, but I'm weird. I love it. Okay, so I got to talk to Chad, which is what I call Chat GPT. And yes, I am transparent. I use it. I don't apologize for it. I don't have time for all this. And ChatGPT does put together some pretty good stuff. If it's not 100% accurate, guess what? Pretty much everything we have at this point is not 100% accurate. It's a moving target, so we're going to just go with it, okay? So here's my question. And I do have a PowerPoint of all of the pictures of Nancy's house that I did at 2:30 this morning, a.m. We're going to take a look at. So I'm like, how tall are the exterior walls of Nancy Guthrie's house? And Chad says, based on the exterior photograph, Nancy Guthrie's house appears to have roughly 9 foot exterior walls with a reasonable estimate of about 8.5 to 10 feet from finished ground level to the top of the brick parapet. I have not found a building plan or assessor record that gives an exact wall height, so I would not present 9 feet as a documented. So I would not present 9 feet as a documented measurement, but we're looking at 8.5 to 10 feet, and that's good enough for me. Here are several useful reference points in the photos. The house is a single-story, flat-roof brick residence built around 1969. 3,776 square feet. The front door is especially helpful for scale. The typical residential exterior door is about 6'8" tall. Comparing that with the brick courses and the top of the parapet, I estimate ground porch to top of exterior wall is 9 to 10 feet. Window height is likely 4 to 5 feet. Top of window to parapet, approximately 2 to 3 feet. Door is likely 6'8". The chimney, of course, extends several feet higher. And you're wondering, why, Courtney? Hey, Major Rammer Jammer. Jammer. Welcome back. Why is Courtney asking about the height of the roof? Has she lost her marbles? Yes, I have lost my marbles, but there's a reason. How tall is Porch Guy? 5'9". Yeah, 5'9", 5'10". We see Porch Guy sauntering, relaxed, just another little stroll on somebody's front porch sidewalk in the middle of the night, ripping the Nest camera down with no tools. Porch Guy, 5'9", 5'10", no tools, just some shrubbery to rip the Nest camera down. How tall were the floodlights on the back of the house? Here's a picture where we see 2 intact lights, one on the casita and one on the front, and then the 2 on the back that were broken, look like they've been pulled down. Here's a picture of one. It's at least as tall as that 6'8" door on a brick wall, and it's on the side of the house where there's just nothing there, just some shrubbery, some grass. How did Porch Guy reach the floodlights? Is that what was in Porch Guy's porch light? Is that what was in Porch Guy's backpack? Was it a ladder all bundled up in his little puffy backpack, a big old ladder, or a chair or a stool? Because at this point, I don't know how he would have reached those lights. He's only 5'9". He's a little shrimpy dude. And he has bad posture. And he has big, meaty hands. But at this juncture, I posit to you, there are 2 lights on the back of the house that were ripped down. Here they are, right over here. Yeah, he could have drug one of these chairs over, but there's no chairs that are going which way, unless he was polite enough and put them back. And I think he probably used a chair. But again, why even remove these 2 lights in the back to begin with? They're off to the side, and he would have gone in, I believe, this way with the flower pots from the patio. He had no tools. And it doesn't make sense. Nobody can even see in the backyard. Look at this guy down here. Let me see if I can make this bigger. There's shrubbery all back here. It's 2 in the morning. Why is he taking these lights down? Why is he taking the time? Oh, there is a brick planter. Well, I guess maybe that's why he did these two, because there wasn't any way for him to get up on here. But again, let's look at the timeline. Again, going back to the timeline. 1:47 a.m. we see him sauntering up to the front. No tools, ripping the doorbell camera, disconnecting it. And it's like, what's he doing? And I guess for, let's see, 13 minutes to 2 a.m., 25 minutes, they do have a picture of somebody in the backyard, but it's not visible. It's too fuzzy to tell what they're doing. But why is he spending 30 minutes walking around the back of the house? What's he doing? So between 2:12 and 2:28, that's 16 minutes between him being seen on the camera and her pacemaker being disconnected from her phone. 16 minutes. He spends 25 minutes just walking around the house. What's the point of him walking around the house? What is he doing? Let's see, he's opening the back door. He's propping it open with flower pots. He's ripping floodlights down. That there's no reason to rip the floodlights down because there's a floodlight on the casita right here. He's been in the front yard where the floodlight is and the casita. He's walking around here where the floodlights, where the neighbors, if he's going to be seen, he's going to most likely be seen on the front of the house. But he doesn't rip those floodlights down. He just rips the ones in the backyard down. No tools. I guess that there is a brick planter, so that is helpful because, I'm thinking, wow, that's an awesome ladder that he has shoved in his puffy backpack. So yeah, I guess that does help me figure out how he was able to reach those. But why these two? There's no reason. And thank you so much. Everybody give Crime After Dark HQ, Lisa, the lovely moderator. She has her own show. Please make sure you're checking out her show on YouTube, Crime After Dark HQ. Give her a subscribe. She's fabulous. And I have to mention, Lisa has been very open. I have an episode where she was kidnapped with her mother and her older sister when she was a child. And these people were in and out of her home. There were two younger men in their 20s. They were in her home from start to finish, about 30 minutes, and that included them kicking in the door to the bathroom where her sister had taken her and locked the door. They took part of that 30 minutes is them kicking the door in. Part of that 30 minutes is having her mother call her father at the grocery store where he was a manager and telling him where to meet with the money. And then they left. They stole her mother's car. But in 30 minutes, start to finish, everything happened. They weren't knocking lights out. And it was at 8 p.m. They were watching, she said it was about 8 p.m. because the Brady Bunch was coming on. 8 p.m. prime time. There was no, she says they did not waste time. There was no this, there was no that, there was no rearranging. None of that. So why is this guy knocking out the lights in the backyard where with this is February, so this is pictures from February, where no one's going to see him. They're all the shrubberies right here, the cactus, the flora, and the fauna. Why? Maybe because he could reach them, but it doesn't make sense. And why open the back doors? There's no reason. Because, originally I thought, well, he was going to take her out the back door because it would be the closest way to go to the car. Or no, taking her out the front door would be the closest to a car if there was, and maybe he originally thought he'd take her out the back. But because of her mobility, she's like, I can't get out that way. She had no shoes on. But there's no reason to have propped the doors open with flower pots. He didn't prop the front door open with flower pots where he actually went out. And again, he's just too relaxed. And it seems to me that there's no purpose of taking two lights out in the back where no one can really see him, but leaving the ones in the front where the neighbors or somebody driving by could see him, and he's just walking around. And we know he's been there before, and apparently it's another video. It's not just a still image, because Sheriff Nonads Bananos, sexy Corvette in his underoos, if we can believe anything he says, referred to two videos. We were only told there was one video that was brought back and a still image from approximately January 11th. But it makes sense it would be a video. So they have more stuff. They just didn't release a video from January 11th. So going back to the lovely Jen and what she was talking about with the car, I pulled that picture as well. And here it is. Let me make this bigger. This is what she was talking about. So you could see two tire tracks right here. And you can kind of see where the cement in the garage, it does have a cleaner spot where the car would be, but the car is over to the right. And as far as we know, really the last time she may have used her car would have been that Friday night before all this, when she went to play mahjong with her friends. She did still drive herself. The car is over to the right. We don't know how Porch Guy got here. Apparently they don't have a car. You know, they're looking for a car that doesn't belong in the neighborhood. They're looking for a cell phone that doesn't typically trigger in the neighborhood. But Porch Guy was at least smart enough to have maybe not brought his phone. Maybe, and we don't know what they know, maybe showed up in an older vehicle and parked down the way. The older vehicles that don't have a computer chip in the brain. But like OG Crunchy Joe has said, he thinks that somebody was in the passenger seat of this car when the car was pulled in, and they could have used this car, because a car that belongs in the neighborhood isn't going to trigger anything on anyone's camera. It's a car that's used to being seen in the neighborhood. You know, we're assuming that Nancy went home. I've done a deep dive on whether Nancy even went home on the 31st. And I tend to believe Nancy did get home the night of the 31st, because there would have been enough digital evidence to show that she did not make it home with her phone, her watch, if her hearing aids were at home. But honestly, we don't know. I mean, somebody could have driven with her phone, because the phone is what's following Nancy. The phone, the digital evidence could have followed Nancy. So we really don't know if Nancy made it home after game night. And then if we go back, 1:47 a.m. This guy is here for 13 plus at least 28 minutes. That's what, 41 minutes? If I'm doing the math right, 28 plus 13 is 41. 41 minutes. 16 of which is him seen in the backyard, and then probably going in, doing the back door, getting Nancy, putting her in something, because at 2:28 her pacemaker app disconnects from the phone. What that tells me is that she's in a car. Her pacemaker could have still been connected to her phone up until so many feet. The Bluetooth connection is good for so many feet. So how did he get her to the car, whether it was from the back or the front? And again, Sheriff Nanos, when asked about how Porch Guy made entrance in the home, he would not answer. Why? I don't believe he went in through the front. I think he probably went in through the back because he spent more time in the backyard. He was in the backyard for a majority of this time because, again, he didn't fiddle with the two front porch lights. He only did the back. So if Nancy's car is here, they did take her car. They did not keep her car very long. They kept A and T's car for between like 40 and 50 days. Nancy's car was only kept for like a week. So does that tell us that Nancy, at least her after the attack with the blood, body was not in her car? Because I mean, it's very possible that Porch Guy could have come in her vehicle. Do we know where her vehicle was before this night? Thank you for the jewels. I love bling, bling, bling. How do we know that Porch Guy didn't come in her car? What if her car was at A&T's? Everybody's like, why'd she take the Uber? Well, we believe she did take the Uber because apparently, supposedly, allegedly, they've spoken with the Uber driver and there was video in the car. So they know what she was wearing. They could see her in the car. And supposedly, again, what we have to go on is there's proof that she was in the car. Friday night, she was with friends doing mahjong, and she confirmed coming over and watching church Sunday morning with one of her mahjong friends, who now wants nothing to do. And I would have to say, going back to the mahjong friends and the church friends, they were specifically told to shut their yaps, just like Kathy Lee Gifford was told, not asked. I think she was told to shut her yap. And we'll watch that video here when we're done. Oh, and I would like to put a bolo out for Alpha. Where's Alpha Wolf? I have not seen her in the chat. I think she's here. I think she's being quiet. I'm putting out a bolo, a be on the lookout. If Alpha Wolf is here, please say hello. We have not seen you lately, and I was worried. All right, that's my bolo. Okay. So the car is not, it's about a foot off. I mean, if we were down there, this is about at least, let's see, if I drive this straight in where the tracks are normally done, and I believe these pictures are from the day, I don't know if this is probably Monday, when they decided that they weren't looking for a woman walking off and that it was serious. It takes Pima County at least 24 hours to figure out what they're even dealing with. Okay, just saying. So if we follow this trail, and if I see two little wheels here, zoom, 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 right here. And there's plenty of room on either side of this car. She's got the garbage can here. If she pulls in here, she's got plenty of room to get in and out with her little bags. She's got plenty of room to walk around the car over on this side, so we're not having to shuffle. zoom, zoom, zoom. That puts the right wheel about right here where my mousey is, if you guys can see that. So whoever last drove this car did not park this car where Nancy, and I again have to give Jen at TBX the credit for coming up. Patriot Pride. I have to say really quick, Patriot Pride, I was thumbing through your videos and I saw your live at Waffle Hut and I'm like, brilliant. That was brilliant. I was mesmerized. And you guys did not finish your plates. You could not get through your covered and smothered plates, but it looked like you tried. And I did notice Mike drank chocolate milk and then got a soda. So bravo. I love it. You guys need to do more Waffle. And I love that they let you stay live. That was beautiful. It's inspirational. All right. So again, we are pulling in the car about right here. And what's really cool is that law enforcement, when they did come, they parked, they just pull right in the driveway. You know, we've got a couple pictures of them walking on the driveway. So if there was any car that drove through here, yeah, we're just going to drive right over it. No problem. We're just going to drive right over it. I got all the pictures of Nancy's house. So we've got all kinds of angles to see. So if you're just joining me, I'm really highlighting that Porch Guy is about 5'9", 5'10". And he decides to take out these two back floodlights. Apparently there is a brick little planter here, but we don't know if he used that. We don't know how. He couldn't have reached it, and he had no tools. And it tells me, since he left the casita light and the one on the corner, which is where if anybody's driving by, they're going to see him by the lights of these cameras or these floodlights. But no, we're going to leave those. We're going to leave those. No, we're going to take the ones in the backyard that has foliage and fauna where people, you know, you can't see Porch Guy back here. Thank you for the jewels, bling, bling. Okay, these are left. There's no reason to take these down. If I need to take floodlights down, I'm taking this one down and I'm taking this one down. Because if the plan was to originally take her out the back, they're going to see her here, here, and leaving here or here. But these are the closest to the floodlights. So this tells me Porch Guy is a weenie, 5'9" weenie with bad posture. He's weird, okay? He's too chill, which is weird. And he takes down floodlights that he really didn't need to. And then he's playing rearrange the flower pots on the patio, which there's no reason. And as I mentioned earlier, for folks that are just joining us, my mod, the lovely Lisa with True Crime After Dark HQ, who has a channel and you need to go support her and hit her subscribe too. Lisa gave me an exclusive when she was kidnapped as a child. And those two young men were not doing jack in her house. They were down to business. This guy has spent 41 minutes. And the majority of this time is him dicking around with floodlights, shrubbery, the front camera, and rearranging the furniture at the door. That's what he's doing. How long does it take for him to get Nancy out of bed, scare the crap out of her, walk her to the front door, which is where he left with her, punch her like a piece of crap, and he's going to go to hell for that one, put her somewhere, and her phone, she's far enough away that her phone disconnects from her pacemaker, probably driving off. So where's the freaking car? She can't walk. She can't walk. She's bleeding. So she's in worse condition than if she even had a really good day and she's like, yay, I stretched. I feel so good. I'm going to walk. No, she has no shoes on, and it's gravel. This front walkway, this is all gravel right here. Here's the floodlight that he messed around with, and nothing's cut. This guy has no tools. He just used his stupid strength to pull this. This is all gravel. Out the front, gravel with her bare feet. This hurts. This would hurt me. So she's bleeding. She's dead weight, even if she's conscious or unconscious or dead, she's dead weight, regardless of those three scenarios. So I posit to you that in the 41 minutes he's messing around in this house, a majority of this time is spent completing a list of things he has to do that have nothing to do with the kidnapping. The probably the least amount of time spent between 2:12 and 2:28, the least amount of time is getting Nancy out of bed, hitting her like a coward, and then getting her far enough out the front door to where her pacemaker disconnects. That's the least amount of time spent on anything other than rearranging the furniture, pulling floodlights down that don't have anything to do with his journey. These two floodlights in the back are not going to protect him from prying eyes. This one would at the casita, and this one would. So why these two? There's nothing cut. He has no tools. It's like, just jerk him. And then, of course, we have the car that's pulled in incorrectly, and we don't know where the car was. So if she's taken the car and the car is over at A&T's house, how do we know that Porch Guy didn't come in? So let's talk about the garage again. And this all speculation. And if I catch myself up and I identify something that doesn't work, I'm going to say it, because I don't have to be right. I'm walking through this. I'm just going through it. I'm improvising here. I'm just walking through it with you guys. So of course, we all know we've got 9:48. Door opens. 9:50 door closes. And part of the juxtaposition of Nanos with his double talk is that very early in, somebody said, did the family walk her in? Yes, the family walked her in. Oh, really? If the family walked her in and made sure she was in, how'd they get out of the house? You're telling me that they open the garage, she gets out, maybe with a cane, walks across gravel, goes through with Tommaso, with T. He's walking her in. He shuts the garage door and continues walking her into her home and says, good night, Mom, love you. But he doesn't go back through the garage. No, the garage is shut. So if he walked her in, why would he not pull up, open the garage, walk her in, leave the garage open, walk out, and then shut the garage? Doesn't make sense. This is Saturday night. And we don't know if, somebody could have gone and opened the garage, waited a minute or two, and then shut the garage and left. She doesn't necessarily need to be in the house. Or they could have walked in, put her phone inside, walked out in 2 minutes, closed the garage, because the phone is what needs to be there for her footprint. The phone, the Apple Watch. And who knows if she was wearing her Apple Watch. The phone and the Apple Watch and the car needs to be there around this time. But we don't know if Porch Guy didn't bring her car again. If they're not looking for a car that belongs there or a cell phone that belongs there, they're not being flagged. And it's pretty obvious that these people knew enough about cell phones and cameras and mapping how somebody's going, that it wouldn't have been too hard for them to have either faked bringing her home, but there's an inconsistency in whether somebody actually walked her in, because if they walked her in and shut the garage, then how did they leave? Why would they not go back through the garage and then shut the garage? And Nanos won't say how Porch Guy got into the house. Why won't he say how Porch Guy got in the house? We all assumed that he would have gone in through the front door because that's where he's seen at 1:47 a.m. But it makes sense that he's spending, 25 minutes just walking around the house, breaking stuff in and out of the house. Nancy has hearing aids. Nancy may not have heard him rustling around, or it's possible that when he opens the back door and is doing the flower pots, maybe it woke her up. If he's making enough noise, we don't know how hard her hearing was. But the things he's doing in this house is not what a kidnapper is going to do. Remember, a kidnapper needs to get in and out quickly. We think maybe if they got a video on the 11th, and we think if they got the video of Porch Guy on the 31st, that there may be video of him leaving with her out the front door. But at that point, again, I have to go back to, how's he getting her in a car anywhere? Even if she went out the back door, where's the car? If he goes out the front door, where's the car? She can't walk. And if he's by himself, how's he carrying her? I have to wonder if it's even possible. He's 5'9". He looks like a medium build. Is he dragging her? And if they don't have, and if there was a car that pulled up here, the camera would have caught it before he did all the shrubbery crap. So if the kidnapping is done, is a minor part of Porch Guy's evening, the kidnapping part is a minor part of the evening. And keeping in mind that Nancy's car is not positioned like she normally drove it into the garage. Who was driving her car and when? And why did they keep her car for 7 days? And why did they keep A&T's for 40 to 50 days? They obviously probably downloaded computer telematics from her car to see where the car had been. They probably did some swabs on the car to see who was in it. They might have gotten DNA from inside the car. That could have been what was sent in, because apparently now there's all kinds of DNA that's been sent in to wherever it is, all over the country, whatever. But there's not much story with her car. It's just long enough of a story with her car that they only needed it for 7 days. Now, A&T's car, for 40 to 50 days, they ripped that thing apart. And, you know, I even defended it in the very beginning when I was thinking that this was a fixated, not stalker, but a fixated person who wanted something from Savannah and she didn't satisfy whatever they wanted. And I had that theory for a long time. And that the reason why it took so long to get A&T's car back is because they destroyed the inside of it, and they probably had to order parts, and there's a delay because they were kind enough to put the car back together, which typical, again, you know, typical people who have their car destroyed during forensics, they're not getting their car put back. Ask Karen Reed. They completely took her car apart for John O'Keefe, and they returned it to her completely tore apart, and somebody in the community actually donated putting her vehicle back together and giving it back to her. Okay, so they took the car completely apart, but they didn't Nancy's car. So what's the difference between taking A&T's car, who just brought her home? What was the difference? Where was there a different story that forensics, you know, they're not going to tear apart? Okay, let's just pretend we're forensics man or woman. We're forensics person, okay? I'm going to go in and I'm going to examine the vehicle with my eyes. Probably going to throw down some luminol or blue star, get out the old creepy black light. Then we're going to go over everything with a magnifying glass. We're going to do our little Q-tip swab. We're going to put everything in the little envelopes. And based on what you see in that first, you know, day of doing all the low-hanging fruit forensics, download the telematics, that's going to tell you whether you need to then start ripping seats out. And you need to rip, the dashboard was probably ripped out of both of these vehicles in order to get to the brain. But are we taking the headliner out? Are we taking the carpet out in the back of the vehicle? Are we taking it out in the back seat? Are we ripping the back seat out? Are we ripping out the liner in the back of the vehicle? Those things are not going to be done. If you've done like luminol and you're eyeballing it and you've downloaded telematics, you're not going to go to ripping the car completely apart if you don't have a reason to. And again, I don't play forensics on TV. But I'm pretty sure, just like with her car, they didn't do that to her car. Because in my mind, it would have made more sense in a scenario for Porch Guy to have been dropped off, walked in, rearranged all the crap in the house, tore crap off with his bare hands, found her keys, popped Nancy in the face, put her in her own car, and then drive off. Now, going back to Lisa's story, when she was kidnapped, how they made ingress and egress at her home is she lived across from an apartment complex. Thank you, Lisa, again, for letting me use your story. So what these guys did, there were 4 total. 2 at another location to receive the money, and then 2 that actually made egress into the home. The 2 guys went to an apartment complex that was across the way from her house. They ordered a pizza. They had a pizza delivery guy, this was in the 80s, show up and the pizza guy says, pizza, you have to pay me, because this is in the 80s before credit cards and ATM cards. They take the pizza guy, toss him into the trunk. So they've technically now kidnapped 4 people. So they toss pizza guy in the trunk, take the pizza, and drive the car from the apartment complex over to Lisa's house. Oh, way before the 80s. Okay. Back in olden times. So they take the pizza guy's car. This is 1971. Thank you very much, Lisa. They take this pizza guy's car to Lisa's house. They'd already done recon. Pizza guy's still in the trunk. They park the car out front, hold the pizza. One guy comes up, knocks on the door really, really loud. They're like, wow, that's a really loud knock. Everybody's like, that knock means business. They all just kind of go behind mom to the door. There's a storm door and an inside door. She opens the inside door and the guy says, pizza. She says, I didn't order a pizza. And just like, a person who's trusting, she starts opening the storm door. And that's when she sees the second guy who is just out of view. And by the time she realizes it, she tries to shut the door, but he gets it. And they're both in with the pizza. Says, I think that this is where Lisa's sister takes her into the bathroom and locks the door. They're kicking in the door. They finally bang the door in, get her. They have them all take their clothes off. Mom and 2 girls naked. Get the mom on the phone, calling the dad, who's a manager of a grocery store. This is how much money. He's telling the mom what to say. Dad is taking it seriously. Dad is smart enough to immediately call the cops. So between the time that he's got Lisa's mom calling the dad, then they get in to mom's car and drive off in mom's car. Not their car. They were dropped off. Pizza guy's still out front in the trunk, freaking out. He's probably to this day, and Lisa still has PTSD. The door knocking, which I don't blame you. So they're just picking up cars along the way. So if this is Porch Guy, and he's supposed to go get Nancy, why is he not putting Nancy in Nancy's car with her keys and driving off? Because she can't walk. And why has Porch Guy spent the most of 43 minutes fiddling around with a camera and 2 lights that wouldn't have protected him? And why did he not put her in this car and take her away in this car that belongs in the neighborhood and isn't going to be flagged? And then why is this car not parked where Nancy would have pulled it in herself? You can see the clean driveway here. The car is over about a foot to the right of where she would normally have parked this. Thanks again to Jen at TBX for pointing this out. This is not mine. I can't take the credit. It's Jen and her brain, her 15-pound brain. Guess that's the thing now, is we have to weigh each other's brain. And depending on how smart you are, means you have a heavier brain. That's the thing. Okay. So who drove this car in and didn't park it where Nancy totally does? Because again, Nancy took an Uber. Was Nancy going to take an Uber to A&T's and then drive her car home? Everybody's like, well, maybe she's not comfortable driving at night, which I don't like driving at night either. But it's just a 20-minute drive. It's not a long drive up the highway. So if maybe the car was at A&T's, maybe Porch Guy picked up the car from A&T's and drove it in, and maybe that's how he got in the house. I have no idea. Or maybe she just parked it weird. But again, it doesn't make sense looking at the timeline with the time of if T is walking her in It does not make logical sense for T to have opened the garage, gotten her in, closed the garage, and then left another way. Because again, he's walking her in, helping her in. Is that 2 minutes? I don't think so. Maybe it is. But it certainly doesn't make sense for Porch Guy to have taken her out the front door when her car's right here. Her car's right this if she can't walk. So, Jesse, hello Jesse. It is not made up. I will make up a lot of things, but we've been told by in Savannah's interview that she had chronic pain and she couldn't walk to the mailbox. If she can't walk to the mailbox, then how is she going to walk out the front door all the way out here after she's been hit and is bleeding? So if you can answer that, then you can get a cookie, a crime crunchy cookie. Years prior, she could walk the neighborhood, but it probably had been, and you know what, if she could have been due for an injection. You know, she maybe got ablations, and it's, you know, every 6 months they will do something like that if she had pain management. I mean, getting close to that 6 months, her pain could wax and wane. If she was getting injections, it could be close to her needing another injection. Who knows? But around that time, she couldn't even walk out to her mailbox. Savannah mentioned, or somebody had mentioned, that they had to help walk her out to get her mail. Yes, a cookie. Jesse Martinez can get a crunchy cookie. I love it. Cookie. And again, my disclaimer is I don't know if it's the family. Okay. None of us know. But statistically speaking, this is somebody in her inner circle with enough knowledge of the layout of the house, of her schedule, of what she's got going on. And statistically speaking, it's the last person who saw her alive, which we know is A&T, and I hope I'm wrong. I hope my theory is wrong. And this is entertainment purposes only, because until somebody gets caught, we're not going to know what happened. And at this point, I don't even think they're going to get anybody. I don't, and you know, I know that some people are like, oh, well, you know, if the FBI, because this was quite the mic drop the other night when Jen from TBX told us that when she talked to KOLD TV station in Tucson, she asked if they were going to give her tip to the sheriff, and they said, no, we're giving it to the FBI. They're the ones handling the case. Okay, and then somebody's like, well, I'm sure that now you're going to love Kash Patel and the FBI. No, I don't. And you know what? Because I don't see the FBI doing their ticker tape parade. I don't see them running Sheriff Nanos around on their shoulders in his underoos and tube socks. I don't see them with a person either. And I think that these ransom notes were put out. This is hysterical. There's not one video of her having problems walking. You are so cute. You're cute. I'm going to leave this up for a minute because I don't think that there's very many videos of Nancy walking. So I do hope that the FBI is handling it. And the only reason why is because Nanos seems to be a real idiot and can't tell one consistent story about anything. And yes, Jesse gets a cookie. And I like, I'm open. Everybody, this is a free space. You guys can give any opinion. I don't, I'm just really giving you a hard time, Jesse. It's fine. I think we need to be asking questions. And I do appreciate you asking questions. But it is our understanding that she used a cane and she was old. She's 84. She's not doing a skip-diddy-doo, skip-diddy-loo. She's not doing the Macarena. So the questions that we have, here are the questions that we have that I can't figure out. There's a method to the madness of why this guy was either told to do these lights or why he did these lights. And it's very possible that the amount of time he spent here, he was not in and out, which is what somebody that is risking getting caught, they're going to go in and out. They're not going to spend 43 minutes, folks. They're not going to spend 43 minutes. And he spent a majority of his time rearranging and breaking. He had no tools. He had a very puffy backpack, which is very weird to me. I don't know why. It was very spherical and puffy. But it looks like he was playing a role with his little costume. He was playing a role. He had the back doors propped open. Again, doesn't make sense. If he's going to take her away, take her in her vehicle. That's the easiest thing, okay? That's the most logical. She can't walk, folks. There was no car supposedly seen here. Is she walking out to the street? Is he carrying her? There's no drag marks here either, guys. There were no apparent tire marks. Because I'll tell you why. Because these numbnuts somewhere in here drove the law enforcement vehicles here. They had a car parked here and they had 2 cars here. So apparently there weren't any fresh tracks here because they drove right over it. Or if they did, they're gone. And if they had driven up here, this camera would have caught somebody, and it supposedly didn't. So it looks to me like somebody had a list. Again, you know, I talked about whether Nancy even made it home in an earlier video, and I feel like she did. But if this guy is hired, if he's got a little list in his pocket, he's got a little piece of paper with just a list. Yeah, he's calm and cool. He's walking up like, yeah, this is cool. How am I going to get this camera down? Well, let's get some shrubbery. Okay. And I can't reach these because they don't have a ladder and I can't jump. But here, I can do these 2. And, you know, the note says that there are floodlights damaged because that's how they link the first note. It's real because we've got an Apple Watch that's in a location and we've got floodlights. It's like, here's how you know I was here. I'm here because I've got these things in the note that match things at the scene. But again, if he had a list, that note could have been written. It's very wordy. Again, the note. The note's very, very wordy. So wordy. Please hold. Very wordy. Not a kidnapping. Again, we learned from Lisa, in and out, quick. And they did get caught. If you want to finish Lisa's story, they did get caught There were 4 guys that got caught. The dad was a hero. And hey, skinny chicken, let me pull this up. The dad was a hero, called the cops. The cops were all waiting at the drop-off point like a bunch of idiots. Courtney, A could have followed T to drop NG off, then taken T's phone back home, driving an old car. Exactly. Exactly. Pamela, this is great. They could have gotten her when she entered the garage. Porch Guy could have already been there. They won't tell us how he got in, how the family got in later. The next day, we still don't know how the family got in the next day. We don't have the 911 call. They won't release a 911 call. It's interesting. I don't know if anybody caught this. This is a side note. Yesterday, I don't know what his name is, but he played the 911 calls of people calling the sheriff for Alex in Criminal Network. Every single person that called the cops on Alex with Criminal Network were from like Texas and Canada. They weren't even neighbors. And that debunks my thing of the family calling. They were calling, we could hear their 911 calls. They're saying, yeah, this guy was just arrested 2 days ago, and he's being rude, and he's in the street, and and they had like 20 people calling. They were all watching his live. It was none of the neighbors calling. It was people from out of state. People don't have they have too much time on their hands, that they're making trouble for this guy. Yeah, it's crazy. I was shocked. But we can't get the 911 call of the family. Why? Why are they protecting the 911 call? Is there something there? All the family is in the house the next day. They wait hours to call Savannah. We really don't know when they called Cam. But we have no idea. And so at this point, it's not just the car it doesn't make sense that they didn't take the car. It doesn't make sense that they even took her out the front door when her car is right here. It doesn't make sense that they did these 2 floodlights and not the other 2 where people could have actually seen him. It doesn't make sense for this guy to have spent 43 minutes at this house, the least of which time was him actually taking her. And she was driven away somehow, but it wasn't in her car. And the fact that the things that were done in the house made it to the ransom note is very convenient. And she was probably dead by the time that first ransom note made it on February 4th. She's taken in the morning of February 1st. The first ransom note is sent on February 4th. She's probably already dead. Second ransom note comes February 6th with the apology and the, oh yeah, she's dead. No longer asking for any money. And it's also proof of death. So the second letter does a few things. It's written by a second person, and I'll talk about that in a second. But it also explains that she's now dead. So now we have technically a proof of death, which helps in the courts because it takes sometimes years to get somebody who's missing with no body declared legally dead. So if someone needs to get their inheritance, oh, well, she's dead. We can move this through the courts and I can get my inheritance now. And there needs to be something in writing that she is dead. So note number 2, she's dead. And we did not intend for this to happen. Oh, but the first note, you say, we're going to hold her for 7 days. If you don't pay, we're going to kill her. So yeah, no, again, mixed messages. And again, I have a very strong feeling if the family is involved that note number 1 is written by a male. And we know that on February 4th, a lot happens on February 4th. The first ransom note goes to the TV station and goes to TMZ. At about 5 o'clock, ICAX comes in and they're downloading all the digital devices. They're coming in, they're getting the computers, tablets, cell phones, all the families in the house. T, the kid, Savannah, Cam, and whoever else is there. All the feds are in the house. ICAX is in the house downloading devices. At 6 p.m., Derek Collella's text comes in. So either the text comes into A&T's phone when law enforcement has their phones physically, or when they're holding their phones and they're realizing their phones can be downloaded. So there's 3 versions. Does A&T say, hey, we just got this weird text and it's really scary. I don't know who this is. Who is this guy? What is this? Or number 2, they get it and they realize it's going to be caught and they take it to, or they just don't say anything and hope that they don't find it, or law enforcement's holding it when it comes in and they're like, do you guys know anything about this? You know anything about this? And then the 9-second call comes into a third device, a third person, which could be Olmo's cell phone. And again, it's Derek Colella just seeing if the family wants to respond. But now we know that they all run in the same band circuit and they have mutual friends. So it's very obvious they know each other. Okay, cool. So on that February 4th, the first note's gone in. We've got ICAX in there downloading all the digital devices, and we get Derek Colella sending that text in. Not looking too good. The heat is on. We also have all the family. They've not been separated. They're all under the same roof with feds coming in. Savannah sees the note. She's crying hysterically. I will pay. I will pay the ransom. I will pay. I want my mother back. FBI. Nope, can't pay it. You can do whatever you want, Savannah, but we advise you not to pay it because we don't have proof of life. And we tell people not to pay it because this is just going to encourage other people to kidnap more people with no proof of life, and it just is going to snowball effect. And it, I understand this is very frustrating. You're terrified, you want to do this, you have the money, but I'm telling you, this is just going to perpetuate more kidnappings. More people will get hurt from this. Think about that. She doesn't want to hurt more people. I'm not paying. You've got A&T hearing all this conversation. Again, there was no world where Savannah would ever have not paid. Hi, Zosha, the crime fighting kitty. There's no world where Savannah was not going to pay that ransom. There was no world where somebody planning this would have thought, oh, well, they're going to talk her out of paying this ransom. Again, all the planning in the world. Missed that one. So now we know, shit, she's not going to pay the $4 million. She's not going to pay the $6 million. Crap. And Ashley Banfield's on TV flapping her gums saying, I have a contact in law enforcement telling me that T's the prime suspect. Okay, so that's all over the place. T is like talking to A in the middle of the night going, babe, we're screwed. We're not getting the ransom. We can't pay Colella his Bitcoin or part of a Bitcoin. We can't do any of this. We're screwed. We just did all this for nothing. And babe, I can't write the second note. They're watching me like crazy. I can't write the second note. Well, T, I'm going to write the second note. And then we have the second note, which is completely different. And I was looking for my link of the Bitcoin. I have it here. Can't remember Bitcoin. Well, I'm not going to pull it up because I'm running out of time anyway. So anyway, again, knowing now that they have insider knowledge, we know that they're going to go through our car, T is the prime suspect. If he wrote the first note, he certainly can't write the second note. We're screwed, but we need that second note to establish death. And that way, at least we can hurry up establishing that she's dead, get a death certificate so the estate can be paid out. We have to have that. So let's just, now we're going to do this. So more questions on how this house ended up in the condition in which it was done. And it doesn't look like a professional job. And there's got to be a reason they only took her car for 7 days. There's got to be a reason why they didn't drive away with her in the car. That actually tells me she wasn't even there that night of the 31st. They could have driven home, done the garage, open and shut, taken her phone in. That would take 2 minutes. If I pull up, because they're going to be watching his car. If I pull up, open the garage, go inside, put her phone inside, and then leave, maybe leave the doors unlocked. We're assuming she left her doors unlocked. I can tell you right now, my mom was 82 and paranoid. She wouldn't go to the doctor's office where she wasn't sitting there holding her purse, like completely wrapped in her hands. You couldn't do anything with her purse. She would just about padlock her purse to the cart in the grocery store. And the doors had to be locked the minute you came in. I can't imagine Nancy not locking the doors. But they could have gone, their job at 9:48, in 2 minutes, a nimble dude can open the door, run in, put the phone, unlock the back door, come out, shut the door, and then go home. I saw her in the house. I walked her in the house. And then Porch Guy gets dropped off by an older car that doesn't have a brain. Maybe there's a driver. He has a list of things he has to do to match the note. Got to do the Apple Watch. Got to do the floodlights, but not the floodlights that make sense. He's doing the floodlights. You know why he's doing those floodlights in the back? 2 reasons. Doing the floodlights in the back because there's a ledge that he can get up and reach them. And he actually can't be seen in the backyard. And I think there was another camera back here that he did and that he could reach. He's doing the cameras where people can't see him. He didn't do the cameras in the front where somebody driving by would have seen him. He just was there long enough. He did the front with, no tools. His backpack looked like he shoved a blanket in there to make it look like there's tarps and gizmos to murder and kidnap. I mean, again, it looked very staged. Nobody's backpack is that puffy and smooth and spherical. That looked like somebody said ski mask, cover up, gloves, backpack. And it looked like he just stuffed a blanket in there. I mean, a tarp, you can fold a tarp. A tarp is plastic and has corners. A tarp is not fluffy and flat and smooth like that. That's a blanket. That's like a sleeping bag. He's just in the back doing floodlights, spending most of his time just walking around. He's relaxed. He's got an easy job. He may not even be taking her out of the house. She may not even be in the house. He just got paid to go and do these things. He has a list. Da da da, taking my time, blah blah blah, blah blah blah. And then walks out, goes down the street, gets picked up by 1990 Chevys, whatever it is. Okay. Oh, here she is, everyone. This is Crunchy Sissy, Naples Realtor Pilot. Thank you so much for the jewels. Bling, bling. Sissy, say hi. Crunchy Sissy. Thank you for the jewels. Bling, bling. Hi, Crunchy Sissy. Thanks for coming by. Hi, Crunchy Sissy. Hey, she says, hey. So, if anything, I have to believe now, looking at how this house was staged to match the note, it looks like she may not have even been inside. Porch Guy was there just to do the laundry list. He did the floodlights that don't make any sense at all, other than the fact that he could reach them. He did the ones in the back where nobody could see him. If he was going to kidnap her, it would make more sense for him to dump her in her car and drive the car out. The car is not parked where she would park it. I don't think he even removed her unless they got her on camera. But again, it doesn't make sense for them to have taken. So where was Nancy? And this is just speculation. Nancy could have been in heaven by now. Nancy could have been buried in nature. Nancy could have been gotten rid of somewhere else. She didn't even have to be home for this guy to do what he was doing. It is very possible, of course, that she was there because they may have video of him taking her out. So she could be there, but again, it doesn't make sense that he took her out the front door and not put her in her own car. Because that is the path of least resistance, is him putting her in her own car. Cam and they were taking stuff out of the house, and Cam took the car. He took her car, and I don't know if he drove it home to Vermont, but he came and got the car. We don't know if it's at A&T's, but A&T, we haven't heard if they've been home. I think by now we would have heard if they're home. So I don't know if Savannah is bankrolling, letting them stay over in Italy at this time, because what money do they have? He's not working. His teaching job on average is $53,000 a year salary. That's not a lot of money. And she does jewelry. So where is their money right now? Where's their son? If they're in Italy, Savannah is bankrolling them, or his family is letting them stay with them and feeding them. And I don't know why there wasn't an alarm system. No one knows why any of those things, but I'm just saying that there's enough questions here that there's a problem. And so let's really quick, because I know that I'm running out of time. Let me remove this. I'm going to share Kathy Lee Gifford's video. I think it's kind of important to share what she shared, because she shares a little bit more information. So this is in the middle of an interview, and we're going to watch about maybe 6 minutes of this. 27. Yeah, about 6 minutes or so. So this segment, Kathy Lee Gifford is being interviewed by Tommy Lahren, and this first part I wanted to include because it talks about her leaving the Today Show, why she left her dream job twice, because remember, she worked with Hoda. And I think it's important for us to understand the culture at the Today Show and how it might affect, Savannah, and talk more about her personality. So let's watch this for just a few minutes, and then we're going to get also the part, I'll stop it after Kathy Lee talks about how she was asked not to talk about the case when she went back on something. So let's watch this.
Twice, one with Regis, one with Hoda. And I said,
she's talking about leaving her
you're
job.
just assuming it was my dream job. Mm-hmm. When I was growing up, all I wanted to do was do Disney movies, like Annette Funicello and mm-hmm. Haley Mills. So I wrote a letter to Mr. Disney when I was a little kid, saying, you need to meet me. I'm known for my expressions. I got a form letter, of course, back from him, but for a little 8 or 9-year-old girl, it was a letter from Mr. Disney. And I ended up doing 4 Disney projects. And Regis and Kathy Lee was a Disney show. So I ended up, there was nobody that was a talk show host, and certainly not a woman. Not a woman. And Reg and I had the joy of transforming daytime television.
Yep.
Nobody sat around and talked like that. But we were just having fun. We were just being ourselves. And if I had stopped to think every single morning before I came into the studio, gee, I better be what so-and-so wants today, or I better be like this today. No, I'd say a prayer every single day before my feet would touch the floor, that I would be genuinely, authentically me the way he made me. And I preferably, Lord, kind, before the world got a hold of me a little bit. I am capable of anything that anybody else is. But if you start your day at least with a prayer, and the Bible the scriptures talk about pray without ceasing in Thessalonians. Now, the only way you can do that is to make your life a prayer. Make your whole life.
I'm hoping
I
she's
love the
going to talk
scripture
about
that
why
says
she left.
you're going to
She says
find
she's
everything
toxic.
you need in life. Absolutely. Stances can't touch it. Be destroyed. It's so big. You hear about other people, and we are on our knees. Or
She's
a
talking about
human
praying.
heart is sometimes you feel like you're never ever going
Hang
to
in
get
there.
through to it. But he does. He does. He gets through.
Can I ask you, and I know that haven't talked a lot about this, but being on Fox News for several weekends, we've covered the horrific disappearance of Nancy Guthrie.
Yeah.
And I know that you're close, and I know that there's not much that you can say,
No.
but because you are such a faith-forward, joyous, hopeful person, what can you share about that and watching this play out and how horrible it is?
Well,
for
I
that
had just been asked by Fox and Friends to come on. The Today Show wanted me to come on, and a member of her family basically called me and other people that were at least colleagues with her or friends, and said, "Please avoid any media talk right now. We're just overwhelmed." And I said, so I called everybody back and said, "I can't. I've been specifically asked from the family not to." So, if you see, and it's hard to get away from the news, if you see it, just lift up a prayer. Lift up a prayer for the family, and who knows where their mom is. I just can't imagine the agony that they're going through. I don't know. I know I pray every day for sure, and I text Savannah all the time. I don't want her to take time out of her grief, mourning, whatever, anxiety. She needs everything to be with her family now, and believe me, she's a woman of faith. She's praying like she's never prayed before. So just do something good for her then. If you pray for them. It's also a simple word, pray. You don't have to get on your knees. Just lifting up names, God hears it. I don't know. I know what I think personally about it, and I'm just praying I'm wrong.
Did you hear that? She said, "I know what I personally think about it, and I'm praying that I'm wrong." And does anyone want me to play that again?
Just do something good for her then. If you pray for them. It's also a simple word, pray. You don't have to get on your knees. Just lifting up names, God hears it. I don't know. I know what I think personally about it, and I'm just praying I'm wrong.
Is it something, there's been a lot of discussion about coming back to work after.
Yep. She says, "I know what I personally think, and I'm praying that I'm wrong." So what does she think? What do you guys think that means? If Kathy Lee. That's what I'm thinking, J-Dub. I mean, that's the only thing that I would be praying that I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong. I hope we're all wrong. Again, we're going with this theory because at this time we have nothing else that statistically matches. Statistically, more than 92%. And Jen, again, the other night, the lovely Jen at TBX said that it's actually more than that. It's up to 98% of any women that age that are kidnapped, and it's going to be a family member. I mean, again, if this is random, it's 8% or less chance. And you know, I have a lot of guilt about that because I certainly don't want to hurt the family anymore. I don't want them hurt. They're even somebody who is behind this is as victims. I'm sure that there's a lot of regret because if they did it for a certain reason, other than really hurting Savannah, they didn't get the money. They hurt Savannah in many, many ways. Ruthless. But they didn't get the money, which is probably, I'd say 50% money, 50% trying to hurt her. So, all right, really quick, I'm going to give 5 more free memberships because it's fun. And I don't want memberships. I want everybody to know that I'm very serious. It's a no super sticker zone, no super chat, no membership zone. But there have been many naughty people who have done memberships, and I've added in a couple other membership levels. So I have a $1.99 for Zosha Kitty Friend level, a $2.99 for Cool Kids Club, and the $3.99 level is the complaint department manager. Okay, so this way there's some more affordable options if people do want to do membership. Zosha Kitty Friend is the entry level. So let me give Zosha Kitty Friend is, let me get rid of that. Entry level. So let me give, I'm going to give 5 free because I like thanking everybody. I like it. It's what I do. It's fun for you. I'm going to do 5 free memberships. I don't know when they're going to go. They should be going very soon. Here they come. Who's going to win? I hope someone cool wins one. Let's see who wins. It's taking its time. Oh, here we go. Poppies, Primrose, 2 dozen roses, Baby Bear, Forever Beautiful, and Catty Girl. Yay! Poor J-Dub. I know, J-Dub, but you have not won one yet. I'm so sorry. I'm so happy. Congratulations to all the winners. Yay! And I don't know what level. Those might be complaint department managers. I love the complaint department. So thank you everybody so much for joining me here today. I may dive back into this and maybe we'll do a second hour because there's a lot. Thank you for joining me. I hope you have a great rest of your Sunday. I will catch you on the flip side. And toodaloo. Toodaloo.